You're live.
I'm live. All right, welcome to the Kitchen Table Talk. Now you can hear me. I guess the music is playing. See,
Oh,
they got to give me a little bit more of a, thing.
the,
Hey, y'all, how y'all doing? How y'all
get in
doing?
here.
Get in here. Get in here. Y'all get in here right now. Get in here. Get in here.
Come on
Get
in.
in here. Come on in. Come on in. Squeeze in. Move over. Get in. Get in where
Scooch
you
over.
fit in. Just scooch over. Just get on in. It's enough room for everybody. Come on in here. Come on in. Family, welcome. Welcome to the kitchen table where no topic is too heavy
Or too light.
for our table. So, yeah, how you doing, Poo-Poo?
I'm good. I am good. How are you?
I am good. I am good. As usual, it seems like my Thursdays gets busier and busier, but we here. We got everything ready to go for you tonight, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time with it. Our
Absolutely.
numbers are spiking again, though.
With COVID.
COVID, yeah,
Yes,
COVID.
they are.
And then me and my boo-boo, we celebrated our anniversary yesterday, so that was
Your
nice.
numbers are spiking as well.
I know. I saw it. I told Pooh, I said, honey, you're boosting my numbers up.
You need to come on a little bit more often, but I was talking about your numbers in years of being married are spiking up.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, that too. Like I said, we add a year every year anyway.
Right. Right.
But no,
Exactly.
it was so awesome. We celebrated 4 years of actually matrimony, the ceremony part. But John and I have been married for 15 years. And I mean, because we didn't think of our relationship as anything less. I mean, from day one, that's kind of how we operated and moved through this thing. And so that's why I posted that the way I did.
Right.
And I was waiting for somebody to ask me, "Hey, what that mean?"
It was gonna be me, but I got busy.
I know you gonna go with a debate on it. Like, what is that? Matrimony and marriage. But yeah, I feel like, we've been married the whole time. We've been totally committed to one another, but we made it official 4 years ago, and we celebrated that 4 years ago on the 24th of yesterday. So it was awesome. We had a good time. We enjoyed each other. We didn't get to officially do what it was we wanted to do with some of our friends and everything, but that was because we had some plans, but then when the numbers started spiking again, he was like, man, we better listen to the governor. Yeah, we pulled back. Like, I got to be very careful. And so we did pull back. But we did have a whole celebration planned, and we're gonna postpone that until things are looking better. Yeah, so that was my praise report.
Well, amen. Look, well, amen. That is a praise report.
That is a praise
Nowadays,
report.
relationships, marriages just aren't lasting. People are quick to throw in the towel and give up, and just quit on each other. Because they're not willing to do the work. But so I commend you and John, you and Kat, for hanging in there.
I told on him his government name.
Continuing to do the work, and
Yeah.
hey, 4 years
And
down the lifetime.
make no mistake, it is work.
Definitely, right?
What you say? Let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
Don't plug your thing.
So let's be clear. So hey, you guys, starting July 3rd, we will be launching. I'll be launching. Make It Rise will be launching a talk show with just couples. We have some amazing topics. We have actually been booked. We're going to air every other Friday. And so I booked all the way through November, I believe, the first week of November. But we have some amazing topics, things that you want to hear about, not just your regular old, not just, the simple and safe things, but we're talking about marriage after infidelity. We're talking about, is my stepchild still accepted to be my child after we divorce with my new boo? Right? We're talking.
That's always touchy. That's a touchy one.
Yeah, we're talking about blended families. Like, what does blended really look like? So we have some things that we're going to be rolling out, and every couple that is coming in and speaking from their personal experience, I want them to share, be raw and transparent, because I believe that our transparency is someone else's road to recovery.
Right. I was actually trying to seek out couples for you today too. I got my eye open. Y'all get in here. Tanya, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Eric, for joining us. Get in your family. But yeah, that is so awesome. I'm so excited. I cannot wait.
I'm excited too. I'm so excited, but I also have to keep in mind that whenever you do something new or something different that is going to be building, that is going to build in certain areas, you got to know that it comes with some stuff. You just have to accept it, and you have to be ready for it to come. So, I have some things going on. I'm in escrow. So
wait, stop. Wait a minute. Is that a praise report?
That's a praise report. I am in escrow. And that's a story in itself that I am definitely going to talk about once we get through this entire thing, because just the process from start to finish has just been God. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about the things that God is doing in my life, for me, with me, to me, and all of those that are around me. Like, it's amazing.
Wow. That is awesome. I'm excited. Oh my God. That is so exciting. Yeah, I can't wait to hear all the stories and just the presence of God all in the mix of it, because I know that's exactly where He is from start to finish, like you said.
Yeah.
So but y'all get in here, Vicky. Thank you. Get in here, family. Get in here. Get in here. We got some good stuff for you guys tonight. We are still honoring our dads. I know y'all like, Father's Day is over. But guess what? We got so many amazing men that we just could not let, we had to recognize them. And we want to take an opportunity to continue to praise them, not just on Father's Day, but all year long. Because they do an amazing job after being, faced with so many other things in life and uncertainties and the burdens of carrying the family and just years of oppression and all kinds of other things. I could go on and on and on, about the strength of a man and how amazing they are. And so we just wanted to, Ram and I decided early on, let's just celebrate them the entire month of June. And so we're going to close it out with a wonderful young brother, Van Brown. He's going to come to us this evening and speak to us about the importance of a father's love. So without further ado, we're going to bring Mr. Van Brown in and let him tell you a little bit about himself. Welcome, Mr. Brown. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the table talk.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Absolutely.
Good. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here, and I want to thank you two ladies for creating a platform where wisdom can be shared to the masses in order for them to grow, because the number one thing in the world is wisdom. The most important thing in the world is wisdom, meaning there's a set of information that you gather for yourself, and because you gather that information, you become empowered. So you therefore empower others. So I thank you for that.
Oh, wow. And I received that. I received that. Get on in here, man. Man, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
My name is Van Brown. I'm originally from the Bahamas. I moved here in 2000, pursue a career in acting. And but as I pursued that career in acting, I discovered that there was so much misinformation about love, because I too myself went through a transitional period, because I grew up seeing a loveless marriage, and because of that, I duplicated what I saw, and I was constantly worrying, pondering on my mind, why am I still not breaking all the way through? So instead of trying again, I got wisdom, and wisdom led me to become a teacher. So now I am a teacher of communication and principles, simply because, and I've written my first book is called Intentional Love versus Love Symptoms. So I know for sure that my passion and my God-given vision is simply to communicate the expression of love and how it's supposed to be dispensed in the earth.
Wow, that's beautiful. You know what? We've been saturated with a lot of things on the internet, particularly since COVID.
Right.
And I don't think, now I could be wrong, and I don't spend a whole lot of time because it's overwhelming sometimes. Just when I'm watching the Brave time. But anyway, but I don't think that I've actually heard a platform like that. You know, they talk about, couples and, relationships. But yours is specifically about love and how it's applied, right?
Right. Simply because when I did the investigation on the topic of love, even I went to the libraries and the bookstores, all of the famous ones. Every time you saw a book about love, it was red or it had a heart on it. So they were consciously telling us that love is only geared towards Valentine's Day. And what we fail to realize is the first people that teach us how to love is our parents or parental guidance. So therefore, love is not just relegated to marriage and boyfriend, girlfriend. Love is a vessel simply to communicate our thoughts, our ideals, and our agenda to whom we're closest to. That's brother, sister, mother, father. So in order for us to be successful, first in love, see, I truly believe that our family is a gymnasium for us to exercise our love. This is where we learn to strengthen our love. We learn how to communicate. That's why you will always have family members that we may deem difficult, but God placed them there intentionally. Simply
is that what
it is? To test our communicational skills. Simply because he knew that you guys were going to go to the masses and you needed to learn how to communicate in the heart, in the trenches of deep turmoil and conflict. So now, love is not just about Valentine's. It is such deeper and such richer. It's the way we communicate, the way we serve. Love is about the way we serve. Every single human being has a success inside of them that God gave them. And the way we give that success to the world is through our love. The way we communicate to our sons and daughters, to our father, to the stranger on the street, everything we do is through the love vehicle. But if we don't know how to express love through that vehicle, and we just automatically duplicate what we saw our parents did or what our past lovers did, and we never researched it to see if this is authentic or truthful, then we're giving this vessel to someone and we say we love them, but we're actually inaccurate because we're not giving the truth.
Mm.
So in order for us to be successful, we have to first know what is love and how do I give it.
That's good.
We've
That's
been
good.
taught that love is a feeling. I said it before, and I will always open up saying this. When you look at the Oxford Dictionary, Webster's Dictionary, all of the secular dictionary, it says love is an intense feeling or passion towards something or someone. Now listen to this. You're saying love is an intense feeling or passion towards something or someone. So I know, Tina, you just said you've been married for 15 years, and I know you've had some moments where you didn't feel like loving him. But so, according to so according to the dictionary, see, this is how they set us up. According to the dictionary, you had a right to leave because you didn't feel like it.
What?
But love is so much deeper than a feeling.
I went somewhere else. I'm like, what? I could have left.
Can't stand there.
Sorry, that's just me. I'm a comedian. Go ahead.
That's perfectly fine. We all have those moments where our emotions get the best of us, and we have thoughts that are unkind to the person we vow to love. But it's simply our feelings betraying us, because the world taught us that love was a feeling. But love is not a feeling. If you look up the love from a spiritual standpoint, it simply means agape style. Now I'm talking agape style love from a spiritual standpoint. Love gives no reason. It simply means, when you break it down, I am committed to loving you for the rest of my life, anticipating your needs and meeting them, expecting nothing in return. Because that's the way God loves us. He said, while we were yet sinners, I sent my son. He didn't wait for the fall. He said, while we were yet sinners. So it means God predicted what we would need and gave it to us before we needed it. So that's the way we're supposed to love our husband, our wives, our brothers. But because we're living in a worldly vessel, but we're following a king, we sometimes cater to the worldly principles, and then we wonder why our relationships are suffering. If I am a spiritual being and I came from God and I know this to be true, the principles that work on earth cannot work for me. I need spiritual principles. And the spiritual principle of love is a decision. That's why that's why the Bible says there's no greater love than a mother's love, simply because you guys love so deeply. Even in the midst of this son literally going to jail and spending the rest of his life in prison, you're still there all the way until the end, because it's not a matter of feeling, it's a matter of decision. This is my son. This is my child. Because you women have such a beautiful vibration that God has given you. You connect the cerebral to the emotions perfectly. Men, we kind of back away from the emotions, and it's all cerebral. But you connect the both. And that's why when God speaks about wisdom, he said she is. It talks about the woman as being wisdom. So your job as women is to teach us how to love.
That's good, Mr. Brown. That's good.
Wow. Okay.
That's real good. So in the wake of what our topic is, would you say that you said the woman's love is for the child is totally different than the father. So knowing that the child does need the love of a father, would you say, what would you say the benefit or the difference is from that love of a mother and the father?
See, the father, I'm so glad. This is the most important topic. I'm so glad you guys picked this. It's the most, Father's Day, when you see Father's Day roll around, the commercials are like this. when Mother's Day roll around, you can't fit enough space into it. And I understand it because it's, man, the way you guys go out of your way. But here's what I know to be true about a father's love. The reason why the father's love is so vital is because he is the foundation. And if you think of the foundation, if you walk into any building, the home that you have right now, if I were to be invited to your home, I will never see the foundation. I would see the walls, the drapes, the roof. I would see all of the beautiful paintings you have the wall, but I would never see the foundation. Yet, if you bust a hole into the wall or the roof, the city will never deem it to be unlivable. But the minute they find a crack in that foundation, they put a red tag on it and say, this place is unlivable. And so this is what's happening. When the father is not present, the family automatically suffers. It's not because he's better, it's because he is responsible.
Say that again. He's what?
It's not that he is better than the woman. They are equally important and valuable.
Yes.
But because God spoke to him first, he is responsible for the stability of the home. When the Bible talks about father and husband comes from the root word means houseborn, meaning he is the initiator of the family. He is the one that initiates a family. So he sets everything in motion. Let's go scripturally. When you saw Adam, the first thing God told Adam, he put him in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
There were no women around. The first thing God did was gave him his image and likeness, meaning he gave him his personality. And then he put him in the Garden of Eden, his presence. And then he says, work. Work simply means to become everything I've called you to be. And then he told Adam to take care of it, manage it. Now, all of a sudden, Adam got all of these instructions. And then in the very next statement, it says, it is not good for this man to be alone.
Right. Oh my
So you are teaching.
So he is saying now, when a man is, his personality and image is in God, he's in my presence, he's working, he know who he's supposed to become, he can maximize and take care of you and teach you everything. Now it is not good for him to be alone because he is a healthy foundation.
Yeah.
The problem is, the reason why there's so much calamity in the earth, because there is a lot of masquerading fathers who have no clue that they are a foundation and where the source of their strength comes from. Let me show you. Go ahead. You have a question, Tina?
Well, I was just going, that's such a valid point.
Right.
That's such a valid point, but go ahead.
All right. Because here's how it ties to the destruction of the world. We know now, because the Father is the foundation, he sets the tone. He creates an atmosphere for the wife and the children to flourish. He creates a safe environment. Because he is born with a broad muscle, and he protects the family. He doesn't abuse the wife. He protects the family. And he creates an environment where the wife and the children can flourish. Now, here's what happens. A community is only as healthy as the homes that are in it. The community, the nation is only as healthy as the communities.
Right.
The nation is only as healthy as the actual world. So here it is. When a man is not present and he doesn't know exactly who he is and what he's supposed to do, he creates world chaos.
Look at here. Full circle.
That's the importance of a father. If you look at any broken society, you just tell me, you don't have to tell me what the problem is. It's simply the absentee of the father's love.
Father. Wow.
It's simply the absentee of a father's love, because when a father, not only, and I will give a sidebar, there are many fathers who are physically present, but the children are fatherless.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Meaning, he is physically there, he sleeps there every night, he comes home every night from a job, but there's a difference between physically being there and physically being present. If I'm not teaching and communicating to my wife all the visions that God has given me, and then funneling that through the children, remember, it says that she will be a suitable helper. So if she's a helper, it means that she comes to help me fulfill a vision.
Right.
So, and if I'm not talking to God about what the vision is for the family and purpose, then we're simply there playing house. And we're wondering why crisis is ensuing, because the reason why you joined union was to do the fulfillment of God. Your union is more than you creating children and having a beautiful home and picket fences. No, you're simply employees of Elohim himself.
Yes, I like it.
Wow.
Right. And here's why arguments happen. This is why arguments happen and divorce happens, because instinctively the wife knows there's something we're supposed to be doing, because she is so wired with wisdom, instincts, skills, ideas. She has the ability to set everything into motion. The only thing the man needs to do is bring the blueprints. But because he never brought the blueprints, everything is in chaos. And we're arguing about bills, and it has nothing to do with bills. It has everything to do with a lack of purpose.
Yes. Look at here.
That's really good.
Yeah, I know y'all thought we was gonna be talking about, oh, he didn't have a daddy and all this.
No, but it's deep. And that's why when you look at the incarceration rate, it's linked to the absentee of the father.
Right.
And it breaks my heart.
Right.
So the greatest thing a young man or a young woman could ever do, if they weren't raised with a father, women and men fail to realize that just because the biological wasn't there, or he didn't stay, or untimely death, whatever the situation is, if you need something, you could actually seek it out and ask for assistance. Here's what I know to be true.
Wait. You say, if who needs something, the man or the woman?
Both young children, whoever needs a father figure.
Oh, the father. Okay.
Right. I'm talking about an absentee father figure from a child perspective.
Okay.
Here's what because I did it myself. Here's what I know to be true. My father was present all of my life. He passed away when I was 35 years old. But like I said to you before, he taught me how to provide, to protect. He told me to be disciplined on my job, so I have no issues in that area. Where I lacked skills was in my sensitivity training and my ability to commit and love this woman, because I didn't see him doing that to my mother. And because I didn't see him doing that, I duplicated what I saw. But once I realized that I was in error, I got wisdom. And here's how I got wisdom. I saw a famous teacher. He was being sent for all over the world. He had books. He was being trained. He trained governments. His name was Dr. Miles Monroe. And I saw the way this man was so effective in loving his wife, because I knew him intimately. I saw the way he loved his wife. I saw the way he praised her, the way he guided his children in the right direction. And I went to him and I said, can you teach me these things? And he took me underneath his wing. And the only reason I'm able to speak to you this way, simply because he fathered me without being my biological father.
Right.
And this is what I would urge for young men and women, and even older. You're never too old to have guidance. Simply because if you didn't get something, it would make sense to you to have someone to sit under and
Yeah.
learn that wisdom and sensitivity training in order for you to be well-rounded in all areas of your life. Now, my wife is so proud simply because instead of keep going, I stopped, I got wisdom, and then I made intelligent decisions.
Well, that's really good. That's really good to hear because there's so many men out there that are afraid to ask for help, are
Right,
afraid to say, "This is where I lack. This is what I need more of. This is what I just don't know." And
right,
when that type of man is with a woman who is very keen, very aware, very spiritually connected, and can see through those things that they may possibly try and cover up,
right,
she's going to say something out of love, right?
right.
So what would you recommend a man who knows this, knows
Hmm.
that he needs, a little bit more guidance or mentorship,
Right.
that but may feel like too tough to go and ask for it? What would you advise a man like that?
I would say let humility be your best friend.
Yeah,
We have to admit that we don't know what we don't know.
yeah,
The only way we could be better is understanding all of the defects and the Achilles heel that we have in our arsenal. It's not about how great you are. The great things are great, cool. What are the things that are going to prevent me from being successful at love? I say that I love this woman, but if I'm not choosing to get wisdom, then I'm not being accurate in my statement. Because if she has a complaint and I keep dismissing the complaint, then I'm dismissing her and I'm not acknowledging her and honoring who she is as a woman. But when you let humility is simply love's bigger brother. It simply says, I am willing to go all the way in order to meet the needs of the people that I love. And the first thing, even in Alcohol Anonymous, is first you got to admit the truth.
admit,
You,
Right?
I
admit,
have a problem,
yeah,
and it's okay.
Well, yeah.
It's okay. We all have issues
right,
because of our domestication. No child is flawless. We all have a little irritants here and there, some more than others. And it will be intelligent of ourselves to do a self evaluation. When I show up, what do you get when you get me?
mm,
So humility has to be their best friend, and then you find that person that you connect to, whether it be a pastor or a teacher, or it could be an older friend, or it doesn't even have to be someone that you're in close in proximity to. When I first started following Dr. Miles Monroe, I just simply listened to his YouTube teaching. I bought his books years before meeting him. But here's what I know to be true about a book. A book is simply someone's mind on paper.
Right.
So, in essence, he's still fathering you if he never met you because he
okay,
gave you his mind in a
yeah,
book.
that's good.
But we don't look at it this way. We just see book as frivolous pieces of paper. And what we fail to realize is the hell that we have home, there's a book on that shelf. And if we read it, it will free us from all of
Yeah,
the things we're experiencing. But once again, it takes humility. So the first thing I would say to the man, please just humble yourself and say, I don't know it all. And just go step by step and say,
yeah,
I'm going to go to this first meeting, or I'm going to read this one book, and let me just see how I feel. And I guarantee you, life will open up. Because I will admit, the first book I read that broke it all open for me was a Iyanla Vanzant. It was called the book called In the Meantime. And it
mm,
teaches you how each relationship prepares you for the grand relationship.
yeah,
I never knew these things. And so the light came on, I kept reading and reading and reading, and then I stumbled upon Dr. Miles Monroe, and then all of the others, Ravi Zacharias and Papa Lovi. And so now I have this community of teachers
yeah,
that are loving me effectively and giving me all of the nutrients that my father was unable to give simply because his father didn't give it to him.
Exactly.
That's
So
all it
so you guys, all of that was like seriously dynamic. We need to charge to get up in here now.
is.
Right. We need a tray.
Yeah, that was like past the tray, right? But y'all went fast forward for me a little bit because I gotta go I gotta go real slow. Um, how did you know? You already got to the remedy what to do. How did you know that you needed when you only saw what you saw?
Right, that was beautiful. Simply, I'm glad you asked that question because the first 2 or 3 relationships, I was in denial. So I constantly kept hearing the same criticism. Man, you're such a great provider. You're such a great guy. You're such an honest guy. You know how to provide and protect. But you never talk about the future. You're not affectionate. You're incapable of giving intimacy. And so my ego is saying, what are you talking about? Here I am, this great guy, I'm providing, giving you whatever you want, and you're talking foolishness about intimacy? And
Right.
so next relationship, same criticism, same criticism. And then I said, hold on, there's a pattern here. And it wasn't until I lost the defining relationship of my life at that time, and it really broke me. In that moment, humility sat upon me simply because I kept getting the same critiques. Now, if it happened once, you could say, okay, that was her. But if it happened 3 times, you have to say, okay, there is something to this.
Yeah.
And humility, thank God that finally humility sat on me. And I said, okay, instead of keep going, let me discover. And I started to dissect and I looked back at my parents' relationship. And I said, man, I remember my mother sometimes being unfulfilled. There was no intimacy. I never saw them kiss. I never saw these things. So I said, there is some truth to this. And then that's when I went on the quest and I started reading because I wanted to understand why I was so atrocious at intimacy. And simply, I went back to the root of it and found out because that's what my father taught me. He was a football player. The only thing he knew how to do was hit and protect and provide. And so there was no sensitivity training. Anytime I came with an issue when I was crying, I said, suck it up. Real men don't cry. So think about it. Everywhere we go, our teachers, our coaches in high school, and then beyond, they keep saying, suck it up, suck it up. Now, all of a sudden, you're 25 or more years old. Now you're giving yourself to a woman, and she says, I want sensitivity. But all your life, you've been taught just to hit and suck away your pain. So I had to literally give all of that frustration to God. And I said, God, I'm suffering here. I don't know how to do this. I know that you called me to love because I see it in the dreams you give me. But I don't know how to do this. Please, I need your help. And as I started to read these books and I discovered Dr. Miles and all the others, the scriptures and the words of this powerful man started to massage my heart and it took away all of the decay.
Right. That part.
Yeah. And that's what men need to know, that the scriptures, find scriptures that talk about love and you meditate on them. People believe that meditation comes from Buddhists. No, God said, meditate on my words, meaning keep repeating it. Yeah. And what it does, it literally rejuvenates your soul from all of the heartbreak, the trauma, and turmoil. And it's the same for women. We all experience certain things. Anytime there's a missing father component, whether he was physically there or not, he didn't have certain traits to give to us. And because of that, we came out of his home and we were malnourished. And we give that malnourished love to others. So we have to get back to what is love. Now that we know love is a decision, but in order for me to love effectively, I have to allow the Father's love to wash over me. So I don't need anything from anybody else.
Mm.
Now, because that love is washing over me, I choose a spouse because I choose to love her because I want to give my love to her. Not because I need her, because I choose to give my love to her. The minute, here's something that is going to really be controversial.
Uh-oh, go on and spit it out.
But the minute you give a reason for your love, you will always bring irritation into it. Because let me give you an example. My wife, she has these beautiful piercing eyes and cheekbones, and she and you know her mother always raves about how amazing she is. But imagine if she was disfigured because of those cheekbones. See, now I said I love you because of your cheekbones. But if you no longer have them, now our relationship is in crisis. If I love you because of your beautiful smile and you no longer smile because there's death in the family, now our relationship is in crisis. When you look scripturally, God never gave a reason on why he loved us. Never. He said, well, sorry, what is that scripture? It says, for this reason, he said, I've sent my son. And oh, what is that scripture? I'm losing it right now. Hold on. It's coming. He never gives a reason on why he loves us. He simply said, for God so loved the world. There it is. For God so loved the world, he gave.
Yeah.
He never said why.
Because he loved us. Yeah.
He never said why. For God so loved the world that he gave. And think about it.
He talked
Before
about what
that,
he did because he loved us.
Right. For that, and think about it. He never said he loved us until he gave us something. So it simply means that love, anytime you say you love someone, you have to show evidence of it.
Yeah.
So he never gave a reason. And I know we could like someone, and we start dating and we like them because of the unique traits. But the minute you make a commitment, in order for you to protect your marriage and your sanctity, you say to them, from this point forward, I have no reason on why I love you. I love you because I chose to love you. See, that's a mature love. That's a mature love. We could like someone for all of those reasons, and on Valentine's Day, you could say all those great things, because I know the women want to hear it and the men want to hear it too. But secretly within yourself, in order for you to protect your relationship, you have to say, there's no reason. So when irritation comes, and when he or she did something that disappoints you, it is your decision that keeps the relationship solid.
Right.
Not feelings.
That's really good, because even on the other side of that, the person that you're saying I love you too, I love you because of, like you said, your cheekbones or your hair or your shape, your body, whatever. Now that person is working very hard to keep that thing going, and if that said thing is no longer there, now there's an insecurity that comes that says he can't possibly love me anymore because I no longer have those things he said he loved me.
There you
so
go.
we have to be extremely careful with what you said, with saying I love you because of this. I love you. I choose to love you because I love you. Right? That's good. That's good.
And I know, you know, and I know this is a hard one to digest, simply because we grew up in an environment where everything was centered around how we felt. You give forgiveness because of the feeling. Oh man, I'm going to let her. I'm not ready to forgive her yet. I'm still mad with her. so we're waiting.
Make her sweat.
Yeah, make her sweat. Everything is centered around the feeling, and what we fail to realize is there's so much time being wasted, and we're becoming more disconnected. It breaks my heart. I mean, there are so many family members that are in disconnect simply because one or both are waiting for an apology. So feelings is preventing us from having this rich relationship. So this is what I mean when I say love has to be a decision, because even though you know the person is wrong, because you love them. And love comes from understanding the value. So when you see them, what will help you is when you see them, don't see the irritation they made, see the God inside of them and say, man, I'm going to love the God inside of them. And you don't want to disappoint God. So you said, God, I am willing, humility, I am willing to go all the way, even though I know she's wrong.
Yeah.
Even though I know she's going to gloat in my face.
Right.
I'm still, but you know what you're doing? You're building riches in heaven. Because guess what the Bible says? Blessed are the peacemakers. It didn't say blessed are the peacemakers who are right. It said blessed are the peacemakers.
Oh, I gotta remember that.
Right. And so I want to ask a question. Was there a moment that you guys felt so strongly about doing the right thing, and because you did the right thing, there was a huge breakthrough because of it?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And it's such a great feeling, you know. It's just it brings about comfort when you do something, even though the common thing would have been to do the opposite, what the world would say, if I were you, I would. But you did the righteous thing. And because you did the righteous thing, doors began to open for you as a result of it. And so I personally believe that I am in that season right now where things are just growing and opening for me as a result of something that I did years ago, you know, my stand. And so, yes, definitely.
Right. And so the Father's love, that's why the Father's love has to be the foundation. He has to teach his wife and his children in our household. Forgiveness is a decision. Love is a decision. Because now, because they have the agape style of love, guess what? The children are going to do nothing but flourish. And it's the way the man loves, not only teaches, but the way he loves and communicates that love to his children and his wife. Here's what I know to be true. The greatest time that love is supposed to be dispensed is when you're disappointed with the person. Like, for example, the child comes home and does something that is so outright ridiculous. You know you didn't raise them that way. But nevertheless, they did something. In that moment, that's the time when love has to be exercised the most. It's not to say that you can't be angry, because the Bible says, be angry, but sin not.
Right.
So it simply means that you're slow to your anger, meaning you're going to speak to that child with intentionality simply because you want to destroy the dangerous decision-making rather than the child. But sometimes, because we erupt in anger, we say things and we do things that cause the child to drift further and further away from us. And so when you see our prisons are filled up, it's simply because young men who were abandoned, or the father was so ineffective at loving, he drove the children out of the home. They said it was better to live on the streets than to sit underneath your foundation.
Ooh, yeah, we got some more unpacking to do on that.
So listen to me, if men really knew, and that's why I wrote this book, and trust me, in a short while, I'm making a lot of deals behind this. In a short while, I'm going to be everywhere. Because
you were here at the kitchen table, right?
Because here's what I know to be true. A lot of men are misunderstood on what marriage is.
Right.
Let me give you a perfect example. When you see, typically speaking, the way it's set up, traditionally, the father walks his daughter down the aisle to the husband. And you see the father gives his daughter over to the husband. So traditionally, we think that the father is giving his daughter over to another husband, but that's inaccurate. Here's why I say the foundation of the father is so important. The father now is giving his daughter over to the husband. So he walks down the aisle, he hands her over. We have to now look at the definition of father. See, before a man, women, if you're listening, before a man get on his knees and ask you, say, will you be my wife? Ask him, what is the definition of father? What is the definition of a husband? I need to know you understand what it means to have these titles. So when she is walking down the aisle with the father, because father means source, sustainer, provider, progenitor. Source, meaning he creates your environment. Provider, meaning he provides for everything for the household. Sustainer, he sustains everything that's underneath, that's on top of his foundation. Progenitor, he is the initiator of genes. So here it is now. Now the father is walking his daughter down the aisle and gives him over to the husband. But guess what happens? The husband becomes the father. You know why? Because it says source, sustainer, provider, progenitor.
Wow.
So now the father,
the
husband literally becomes the father of his wife. Because why? Father doesn't mean biological seed. Father means provider, sustainer, protector, progenitor. So the father is simply saying, the father of the child is saying, I've been responsible for her as far as I can take her. Now it's your turn to be responsible.
Right.
But we think as men, oh, we're going to get married. She's going to become my wife. And we don't know the weight.
My property.
We don't know the weight and the responsibility that comes along with carrying a family. That's why we abandon our family, because when it gets tough, because we were never prepared. Nobody taught us the spiritual truth and responsibility that comes along with saying, will you be my wife?
Wow.
That is so deep.
Mr. Van, that is super deep. Oh my God. Like, so what do you do to educate our brothers? Like, how are you educating our future fathers, responsibility providers, sustainers?
I'm so glad you asked. I have a book, The Intentional Love versus Love Symptoms. It talks about all of that. And we're on our 3rd and 4th episode. I'm creating a whole talk show that's centered around teaching these principles. Right. Not only that, we have a foundation also that we're Celebration of Love, where we teach these things. And the goal is simply just to keep getting it to the masses. Like I said, we're working on a lot of things. We're in negotiations now, simply because it ain't about me. It's about this message, because I'm so glad that I got it early before I married my wife.
Wow.
Because had I not had this information, I truly believe we would have been divorced already. Because we keep thinking that I'm marrying a sex machine. Her job is simply to just be sexy and we get it on. But there's and that's a part of it. And I love that part of it.
Right.
But there's purpose involved. Because think about it. It says it again. When a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. And it says she is a helper. So she comes along to help. What am I doing? So here's what happens. It says, for this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. See, it never says anything about the wife leaving.
Right.
He said, for this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. So I'm asking this woman to leave her home, her father's home, simply because now it becomes a transition of fathership. So she never really leaves. She just is underneath another covering. But if I don't know that, then I'm going to treat her like, the minute I get disgruntled with her, I'm going to treat her like I'm not responsible for her.
Good.
But if I know spiritually speaking, I'm responsible for her mental, physical, and financial well-being, my
And that's it.
whole attitude is going to be different. And not only that, you could only love someone when you understand the value. Because of the movies and the songs and the love music and all of these television programs we listen to, we've reduced our beautiful, vibrant women to sex objects. And because we don't know the true functioning of a woman, here it is. She is God's incubator. She comes to teach us the wisdom of love. She comes to perfect and add value to all of the beautiful landscapes. She is so intelligent in terms of unique skills and ideas and wisdom and everything that she brings along to the table. She is so valuable to the point where when Jesus was resurrected, the people that he went to first to announce his resurrection were women.
Women, that part. Yes, it
That's how
was.
important you are. But here's what we've done. Because we've allowed the other guy to come in and creep into our thoughts. And we've reduced this vibrant, unique, beautiful being in order to a sex object. And a lot of women are starting to believe it. So now they fall in love with the exterior and they abandon their spiritual intelligence and everything they're supposed to do. And they believe the lie. So we have two men and women masquerading, and they're walking down the aisle and they're calling it a marriage, but it's nothing but a setup because we don't know the foundation.
Wow. That, I mean, listen here. You don't make me speechless too often, but I mean, you gave a word tonight.
Yes.
No, because
Yes.
I want you, listen to me, I want you women to know how valuable you are. Anytime I get an opportunity to speak, I speak life into women and men, but women mostly simply because they're lying to us. They're lying to the men. And therefore, the men are believing the lie and they're giving it to you. And the problem is you suffer twice. You suffer twice simply because the father that raised you didn't understand the information. And then the person you merge lives with don't understand it either. So now you're suffering twice.
Wow.
In order for this man to stand up, women with her wisdom needs to say, hey, in order for you to be with me, you have to put the king in his seat.
Yeah.
Understand who you are, where you came from. Ask important questions. What does it mean to be a father? What does it mean to be a husband? Where did you get your definition from? What is the last book you read on communication? Because the number one need of a woman is intimacy. I need to know that you know how to communicate to me. See, I have no doubt in my mind that all of these men that say they love their wife, they honestly do. The problem is they don't know how to live with them.
That's good.
See, love alone cannot save you. Love is the vehicle. But if I didn't know how to love, meaning I don't know what caring means. You know what caring means? God showed it to us. He said, while we were yet sinners, I sent my son. So caring means studying the woman, predicting what she would need tomorrow, and then give it to her today.
That's it.
That's
good.
caring.
That's good.
Courage means, so see, in order for love to work, it has to be accompanied by other words like humility. See, humility protects me from my ego and pride because it's saying, man, I don't care what she did. I know she loves me. That was just a moment, a lapse in judgment. I'm still going to love her intentionally, even though I'm disappointed. It takes courage to love. It takes discipline to keep loving.
Yeah.
Even though there are moments where you're not getting what you think you deserve. Remember, love is a decision. Love is simply the vehicle. But it has to be everything in the backseat has to be humility, forgiveness, caring, discipline, courage, compassion. I may not understand what you're going through, but because I don't understand, it doesn't mean I don't share in your burden. Please tell me what I can do to assist you in the matter. See, men, we're so closed and shut down simply because we've been taught to be hard. And if it doesn't make sense to us, we dismiss it. We have to get back to that
Yeah.
sensitivity and the nurture, because men nurture also. When you look at Jesus,
And it's
the way
okay.
he walked, when you saw the way Jesus walked on the earth, he was a beautiful balance of strength and vulnerability.
Yeah.
He wept.
Right.
He wept at Lazarus' tomb.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would urge any man, if you truly want to be the complete human being, study the way Jesus walked the earth. He was a beautiful balance of strength and vulnerability. I have no problems expressing to my wife vulnerability. It wasn't always the case. But as I read more, as I spoke to God more, as he spoke to me, my heart became on, all of the decay came down. And what men and women fail to realize is you can get back to your original self before they saturated you with lies and a bunch of trauma. We can get back to it, but it starts with us loving effectively the way God called us to love.
Wow. I mean, you got some comments here, ma'am. I don't know if you see any.
I can't see the comments.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we got a few comments. Raphael says, I had someone to tell me if I allowed him to talk to my wife. And by the time he was leaving, that she'd be leaving with him. What? Whoa. So I think you should go to God first and ask him to send you a mentor that is trustworthy. Oh, so his mentor
Wow.
was not in line with God. That's pretty much what that was.
Oh, wow.
Whoever you were speaking to. So you do have to be careful who you do
Right.
speak to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
I'm so sorry that it happened, brother. I misunderstood
Yeah,
what
me
you said.
too. Like, wow. And then he says, yes, bro. The deacon told me that I was talking to him about relationship and marriage. I think the deacon, that was when you spoke about men don't cry. He
Right.
mentioned that a deacon told him, suck it up, men don't cry, which is what
Wow.
I often hear.
And this is in our church.
Yes.
This is our church. This is our leaders.
Yeah. So I thought with one thing you said, if anybody got any questions, type it in now. We're running out of time.
Feel
Type
free.
it in now. Please type it in now if you have any questions for Mr. Van while we wrap it up. And click like and share because he was dropping nuggets all night long. Y'all click like and share it with somebody, a friend who you think might need it, mostly the men. Hello.
Yeah. No, we have a system where we're building a community of successful. I have a lot of actors that are really well known, and I've sat with them privately and helped coach them in their relationship. And because of that, they're jumping onto my platform and we want to go state to state doing this thing.
Right, as you should.
Right.
I truly believe you have a message, and there's so many nuggets that you dropped tonight. I can relate. I mean, you guys heard me when I did my father's tribute. I was 50 before my father told me he loved me, and that's the fact that it was very difficult for him to express emotions, and I understood that. I understood my father loved me because I indicated he was my first love, like you said. That the father is the foundation. But as a man and growing up in the South and, just all of that combination of everything, I understood. I don't know how I understood it. I guess I just did. But that it's very difficult and for men to express themselves. And, we often, I'm just going to speak from my experience. I married somebody just like my daddy. It's very difficult for him to express his emotions.
Right.
And that was one of the things that I used to always fuss at my dad about
Right.
not being more sensitive and
Right.
all of that kind of stuff. And then what do? I go and marry a man exactly like
Right.
me, right?
Right.
And
But
so,
here's what I know to be true. In those moments you said, I don't know how I knew, but here's what happens to us. See, God knows exactly what you need, and he literally planted the wisdom inside of you. The reason why you're with your husband is because you know how to love him through it. See,
tell you that.
you know how to love him through him. Wisdom tells you, I know he loves me.
Yeah.
He was brought underneath a system that corrupted his thinking into thinking it's not necessary. But here's what I know to be true. In a short while, when you pray, never speak to him about, well, I can't say never, but here's what I did. I'll just tell you what I did. There are certain things I may have needed, I thought I needed from my wife, but instead of going to her and asking her for it, I simply went to God and I said, God, teach me how to love through this. I'm not asking you to take it from me. I'm asking you to help me through it. See, when you speak to him in the final destiny of who he is. See, sometimes we have an issue when we see our loved ones in their temporary state. We speak to the temporary.
Yeah.
When he disappoints you, say this, man, I have no quarrels. I know in a short while, God is going to cause you to be such an effective lover. All the women are going to be jealous.
That's it.
And you know what you're doing?
Something similar to
You know what you're doing,
yesterday.
Tina? You're prophesying.
That part.
Prophesying, right.
That
Yeah.
part.
You're
You're
prophesying.
prophesying. Because you know what God did?
Get in here, get this.
Yeah.
That's
See,
good.
spiritual people don't argue about these things. What we do, remember, love is a decision. Because you knew the makeup of this man when you married him. So now, here we do now, we don't quibble about those things. We prophesy over them and we go to God with it. And we let God marinate his heart. Because all we can do is plant the seed. We plant the seed and we let God water it. Say, I'm not even concerned in a short while.
In a short while.
Your hands are going to be all over me.
That's good.
You're gonna come to me out of the blue, and you're gonna express things from your childhood that you never told me before. But see, when you love someone and they know they have no expectations on them, it gives them the freedom to breathe.
Yeah.
And as he starts to breathe, I guarantee you, watch the words that are going to come out of his mouth. You'll be shocked. I've seen it.
You know what?
I did it to my wife, and my wife did it to me. Because, like I said, I grew up underneath that same regime, that toughness. My father never said, my father passed away, never said he loved me. I was 35 when he died. Never heard it. And when I would try to say it, he would get off the phone. He didn't want to hear it. And then my mother, thank God I didn't have that experience with my mother. I forced it upon her. I said, no, I'm not going to hang up this phone. And now it's effortless off of our tongues. So I know that God touches us, man, because we're supposed to be that beautiful balance, but we can't force it on them. We got to say, here's what I know to be true.
Yeah.
Man, I love you so much. I can't wait to see what God is going to do. And all you're doing is prophesying.
I'm still at, here's what I know to be true.
Yeah, I guarantee you. Because women, you guys have to realize your words. Remember when God spoke, he spoke everything to existence. He said, let the waters and the shift, and then let all the fields and everything created, and he spoke. So when you speak to your husband, You are saying, "This is what I want, God."
Right.
Yeah.
If you only knew your power.
That part.
And to know your power would be to speak it. I always say speak to
Right.
the person that God created and not what you see
Right.
or what you hear. Because if you respond to that, to what you actually see or his response, wow,
Right.
it's going to be opposite of what you should be saying. And so just believing that that thing that you're speaking to, who God created, is going to come is powerful. I do agree with that. It's powerful.
Right. And that's why the Father's love, he sets everything in motion. And that's why women who have sons, teach him this foundation now, that love is not a feeling, it's a decision. Teach that young boy now that don't wait for the forgiveness. Don't wait for the apology, because you may never get it. It says forgive. To me, to go in front of the apology.
Right. Look at me.
Forgive. Go in front of it.
Y'all click like and share and get this nugget. Y'all even got the nuggets all before.
Right.
Yeah.
Forgive. We keep waiting. Yes. That's why my wife, listen to me. She knows. I said, babe, you don't even have to ask me. You know you're already forgiven. Because it is my duty. Because the Bible says, before you even ask, I've already done it. So God is saying, even before you ask, I've already forgiven you. So these are all the principles, spiritual principles we're supposed to live by. But yet we're adopting earthly principles, and then we're wondering why our relationships are suffering. I guarantee you, every single divorce, well, I can't say every, majority of the divorces that happen, they signed the divorce papers with still love in their heart towards each other. They just couldn't live together.
Yeah,
they just couldn't live. So stop talking about love. Learn how to live with another human being.
That part.
Read books on communication. What is the definition of caring? What is discipline? What is courage? What is humility? Because these are the true friends that are going to protect love. It's an insurance. It's like how you buy insurance for your car and insurance for your home. These friends protect love from your ego and your pride.
Mr. Brown, what is your book? Real quick, Raphael says, Mr. Brown, I can't wait to connect on your book. It's my mission to teach young men what we are lacking, divine connection. What's your book? Real quick, we'll throw it out there. Thank you, Andrea, for sharing.
Beautiful. The book isn't out yet. It's in the final stages of editing, but it's called Intentional Love versus Love Symptoms, and it deals with the historical missteps of the parents, and then we go back to the truth of love and where it came from. So it will be out, I would say, probably in a month and a half tops. It's the final editing, and then we go through all the formatting and everything else. So in a short while, it'll be out.
In a short while, will you come back and share it with us?
Of course. I love the way you caught on to that.
Right. Well, in a short while, right. And I'm excited, Tina, that he and his wife are going to be on my show. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
And we have, there's another thing. We have to be careful how we speak to each other. Again, I'm talking about the Father. The Father is supposed to be very intentional with his words, because everything in his mind is, when he speaks with a generational thought. Meaning, if the book that I read, if I read this book and all 85 pages, I can't share this with my son, there's no reason I should have read that book. Everything has to be a generational thought. If I have a friend, and the friend that I have, I don't trust him to babysit my child, then he shouldn't be my friend. Everything has to go through the lens of a generational thought, because we're not here for ourselves. We're here for everything that comes out of us. So
Right.
we're supposed to leave a legacy that will protect everything that comes out of us. So everything I give him, down to the food, down to the words I give him, down to the way I punish him, everything is simply to successfully guide him into being a God-fearing, successful human being. It's not about feelings. I think a lot of times, men in particular, we're so enamored with our son that we let them get away with murder.
Mm.
And
Wow.
God is saying, no, it's your job to guide them. He is not your son. I've given you stewardship over him. And it's your job to guide him into that direction. But we get caught up in earthly things.
Man, we didn't hit so many topics tonight. Like, we got to come back and break this down and unpack it some more. And we're going to have Mr. Van Brown back when his book debuts here at the Kitchen Table Talk. Y'all heard it here first. Don't even worry about it. Get in here, click like and share. Audrey had already shared. Y'all come back and let us know you shared. Somebody, and here's what I know to be true.
Yeah.
I got you, don't worry. Somebody needed this word tonight because I needed it. And if you click like and share, somebody else that you're sharing it with obviously needs to hear it too. We appreciate you, Mr. Van. I can't wait to hear you and the lovely missus because I'm sure she feels like one of the luckiest women in the world. I can't wait to hear you guys on Ram's show. Right. And it's going to be awesome. I feel it in my bones. I know it to be true. And I have picked up so many nuggets tonight, not only to begin massaging the hearts, like you said, because that's my favorite part as well, massaging the heart of my husband, but passing it on to my son as well. Because he also needs some of that same thing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we appreciate you. We love you as a father. We salute you like we have been doing all month long. Ram, do you have any last words before we wrap this up?
Yes, just again, we want to say thank you, Van, for coming on and spending time with us. We know you could have been doing many other things, but you chose to be here on our platform, just pouring and planting seeds, and we appreciate it. And I hope that everything that you've said and the seeds that you've planted, that we begin to water them, because that's all you can do is plant the seed. Now it's up to us to water it so that it can begin to grow. So thank you once again, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Amen. And I just want to say, man, I see nothing but love in both of your eyes. You have such a, listen to me, God is going to do some dangerous things with you women, and I'm so proud and so honored. I am so humble because here's what I know to be true. We could go many ways because life has brought us a lot of trauma and difficulty, but yet you still remain on the course and say, God, I'm going to live for you. And it's so humbling and it's so courageous and it's so powerful. And I simply salute you for giving your gifts and your light to the world.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
I received that. Thank you, Mr. Van Brown. You guys can find him. I'm going to roll his banner across the bottom at Van Brown. It's vanbrown.com, right? For your services. There's ways that you can support on that website. Please go check him out. He's on IG at Mr. Van Brown, real easy. So you're on Facebook as well?
Yeah, Mr. Van Brown, same thing.
Oh, same thing on Facebook, Mr. Van Brown. Okay, there it is right there, Mr. Van Brown. You guys go look him up and follow him. Click like and share. Tell somebody, tell a friend. Mr. Van Brown, we thank you so much. We love you. And
look forward to speaking with you guys again, ladies again.
Absolutely.
When that book come out. Good night. Man, that was an awesome show. Man, he dropped so many nuggets. Man,
Yes.
I can't even. I'm like, oh, okay, wait. I was taking notes. I got
Right.
notes all.
Me too. So was I over here taking notes.
I cannot wait for the book to come out. I'm
Yes,
excited.
I'm excited.
I mean, honestly, that really was the first time that I seen a platform where somebody is literally just speaking about the dynamic of love.
Right.
You know, it's just the word itself. So I appreciate that, and it was wonderful. We got some more good stuff coming up. You guys, it is our endeavor to feed you
Yes.
things that God has given us to give to you, and we want to make sure we do that and be obedient. Spirit. So this week, given everything that's going on, first of all we want to thank you guys for enduring it with 20 past the hour, but it was just so much good stuff. I didn't want to cut him off.
It's hard to say quit, stop, cut.
Right, yeah, like I didn't want to miss nothing. Grab it.
Right.
But we got some good stuff coming up this month, given everything that's going on with COVID and all these the losses that people are experiencing. We want to support you guys through grief and loss. So we're going to have some people coming on talking about grief and loss and how we navigate through that field. So we definitely want you guys to continue to support us. Join in every Thursday night. I'm thinking about Bible study because we just love church. Every Thursday night here at the Kitchen Table Talk on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It's Kitchen Table Talk with Tina. So where no topic is too heavy
or too light.
For the table, you guys. We'll see y'all next week at 7 o'clock.
Bye-bye.